Alright guys, it's Wednesday. I'm pretty sure my parts to finish repair this T1 Ranger are coming today. So I was flailing around yesterday trying to get everything ready so that when the tilt servo comes I can put it in this and pretty much it'll be ready to fly again straight away. I got almost everything done. I did get the pan and tilt working. I've got one more thing to do today. That's get the OSD working on the walk snail and make sure the walk snail is actually working on the front. Let me turn on my bench power supply real quick because I have to have external power for the servos to work. And you can see here I don't have much up in my tilt. I'm going to have to modify that tilt mechanism. I'll show you that in just a second. Got a lot of down. Matter of fact, I've got straight down. Also, that 270-degree servo for the pan, I don't have it quite set up right now. The normal 90 is all it's doing, but my understanding is that the extended PWM for that has been corrected in Ardu Pilot like it is in iNav, so I'll be working on that too. And here's what I was talking about, the tilt on this. If I go back much further than that, the camera and the cable are going to hit that servo right there and stop it, put it in bind. So I'm going to redesign this pan base. I'm going to extend it out a little bit. Won't have to be far at all, maybe 1/4 inch. Just make it a little longer in the front and then that'll give more. But I don't need up like I prefer down. So that's what, and I limited, because this is a straight RC pass through, there's nothing you can do in Ardu plane to reverse the servos here, etc., etc., etc. That's all done in the radio, because whatever's being sent out the radio is passed straight through to these servos. So I limited, I can rotate my pot on my radio all the way to the left for up tilt and it doesn't touch the servo. But when I do it in this direction, it goes quite far down. So that's the problem and what I'll do in the future to fix it. So again, on the walk snail for OSD, I need a UART. So this connector's a 4-pin DuPont. It's got red on the outboard end of it and black rather than black and then red like most of my connectors do, and I'll show you why that is. And then yellow and white for the UART. So supply voltage, ground, transmit and receive. So I have to hook this connector to the flight controller. That'll be everything connected to the flight controller except for the left tilt servo, which is coming today. So here's where those 4 wires go. I'm going to use UART 3 right here, transmit and receive, for the OSD data coming out of the flight controller being displayed on the OSD. And because the walk snail needs 6 volts or more, I can't use these 5 volts. It just won't work right. So I decided to just conveniently pick up 9 volts here. That's why the red wires on the outboard end of that DuPont connector. Then ground is the next one, and here's transmit and receive. So I'm going straight across these 4 connections right here. Let's see if it works. Sorry about the noise, guys. I got all sorts of fans running now. The bench power supply. Actually got a little fan inside the fuselage cooling the walk snail. Got the walk snail receiver behind me. So again, we have to put power on it. Here we go. Receiver works. Of course it does. Takes a while for the digital to come up. It's not analog. There it comes. It's working on it. There we go. Boom.
Inactivity alarm.
Oh, leave me alone, radio. And we can see right here the video transmitter inside the fuselage has 8.6 volts, it says. That 9 volt, that's probably pretty close. It's more than 6. And it will stay this way as long as it's connected to the flight battery. So look at this darn thing on the bench. That M10Q5883 has 6 satellites locked up. I don't know why it won't do that on the 743 Mini and Slim. Darn it. This is the battery that's connected to the receiver on the walk snail. And it's a 0.1 volts from being at storage, so I need to charge that, it looks like. And we'll flip through the screens here. That's my second screen. That's my third screen. And that all works. We'll tilt it up a little. There's not much up in it. There's a lot of down. And the pan works. So we are ready for parts to come in the door. I like it. Boy, yesterday was just a flail. That RC input on Mr. Piper's perimeters being different from me just kind of threw me there. I have never, ever used another perimeter file on my equipment till yesterday, and I'd only ever used suggested perimeters out of Mr. Piper's file on the 7-inch one time in the past. So, oh yeah, I've got to calibrate the compass too. Other than that, the tilt servo, we're sitting here waiting on that now. The parts just arrived. There's the battery tray stuff. This broke. I broke the rails, whatever you want to call them, when I was trying to take them out. This is the tilt servo and the associated hardware in there to mount it. All right, let's get them in. We'll be able to fly this thing again, I hope. Well, there's the tilt servo. This is the old one. I've played with it in the airplane. I'm going to play with it some more outside of it. It just doesn't tilt sometimes. Doesn't react. And you can see here where I suspected stuff was broken off of it. And now, if we look at the new one, we can see that I was exactly right on my suspicion. There's 2 dog ears on the back of it that bolted into the airplane. So, all right, get this going. It comes with a little bag of all the associated screws. I kept the old ones, but I'll use the new ones because they got brand new Loctite on them. And this is the motor mount. There's no screws in there, so I'm sure the screws for the motor mount are in here. Only one I'm really worried about is the one that goes in the part that splines onto the servo. All right, let's go. Well, I think the physical part of the repair is finished right now, but I've got problems. Let me show you that the motors do tilt. So that proves that the motors do tilt. I just have one little problem right now. It won't actually do it from the airplane itself. I'm going to have to figure out what's going on here. This parameter list might not be that great. I might try putting something else back in it real quick, and not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop back and punt again. How about that? So you can see here the platform thinks it's in Q loiter right now. Whoops. Let me, I need to power up the bench power supply real quick. And you can see I can change from Q loiter to fly-by-wire A mode there. But nothing physically happens on the airplane like it did in the past. So this must be, could be something in the parameter list. I still do need to do a compass calibration, but I don't think that's it. So I may end up having to blow this back to 0 and set it up my way. Let's see if the ailerons work. Elevator works. I don't know about the throttle. I haven't done anything with that or tried to even arm it at this point. Okay, let me sit and think about this for a short. Okay, guys, I figured out what I'm going to do. I looked at the parameter file I was playing with. A full parameters file for RDoPlane 4.40 with Q plane enabled, which adds several parameters, and with 4 OSD screens, that's 3 more than are normally enabled by default, is composed of 1929 separate parameters. And the parameter file that I was using is composed of, this is it, T1 Ranger Maytech H743 BD Shot 4.4 parameter text, that's what we downloaded, is only 166 lines. It's 165 lines if you take out this funky character at the bottom. I did that before I tried to run it in. But this is not a full parameters list. Now the way I was using it, it was going to pull these values in. But I think it's going to be wiser for me to back off, build this up my way as a quad plane, and then pull out individual parameters out of what he did here. I don't need these battery values. I don't need these auto tune options. I don't need the flight modes, compass orientation, any of that stuff. I do need all this INS, most of that INS. That's for the notch filters. Doesn't seem to be using the first notch filter. He is, or he is using the first one and he's just got a second one set up in addition to it. I don't know.
Here's an INS notch filter to enable. It's a 1, so it's enabled. And here's the frequency that he's got in that one. So I'll have to go through these point by point rather than trying to use it as a perimeter file. When you have a full perimeter file in a platform and you do try to load this as a perimeter file, it merges the two. It's better to do that with a compare when you're trying to merge two files. I'll get into all that more deeply when I build this up. So that's the plan. I'm going to drop back punt, blow this back to 0, work it all up as if I were building it from scratch, and then I'm going to pull Mr. Piper's parameters out of this file that I want to use. I don't know how soon I'll get all this done because it's going to be kind of involved, and there's no sense in me showing you every step. I've got videos showing these steps on other things. There's no reason to keep going over and over building a perimeter file on Ardu. We are going to a Halloween function Friday in Hickory, North Carolina. Hickory Haunts, Lake Hickory Haunts. They have 11 scare houses. It's kind of a local version of what Universal Studios and stuff does for Halloween Horror Nights at their parks. We are going to Disney in less than 3 weeks for 10 days, I think, this trip. We're going to go to Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. We're going to go to Disney's Halloween party. We're going to go to SeaWorld's Halloween party. I really do think this Friday night's Lake Hickory Haunts is going to be better than SeaWorld's. I think they're going to be... Halloween Horror Nights is the best. Disney is the next best. Lake Hickory Haunts is the next best. And SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, same people. It's going to be the 4th best. So that's going to cut quite a bit of time out for me. So my Friday's kind of full here. I'll try to get back on this Saturday. I'll do a little bit on it tomorrow. But basically, you won't see anything again until I'm ready to do a hover test and tell you how I got it to that point. Thank you, guys.